to do the research, and I went and started meeting with a lot of people who were, similar in terms of, really busy, from a professional perspective, but had families, and to try to find out, hey, is this a pain point for you? Do you really struggle with trying to find that balance in life and, trying to carve out the time to spend with those people who really matter to you and so forth? And the resounding answer back was, yeah, they struggled with it too. And for the most part, they did not have this interactive tool that would help them do that. And so that was where the whole idea was born out of. And so I kind of pretty much took 2014 off because I wanted to really unwind. And I was talking to Wayne, wherever Wayne went earlier, about the fact that I took an RV trip for a couple months with my wife and my 3 kids who were at the time 6, 4, and 2, which I'm not sure if that was a good idea or not to do with 6, 4, and 2-year-old, but we went out west, we had an awesome time, so did some fun stuff. But I knew at the end of 2014 that I wanted to go pursue this full time. And so we started to put together the team at the beginning part of this year. And so here's where we are at this point. We've assembled the initial, what I would describe as the core team, and as Stan mentioned, it's made up of folks that we worked with together at Snag-a-Job, and so Nick came on and joined me in the spring of this year. So Nick led product management for us. Nick's going to do a demo here in a little bit. So we worked together for 10 years at Snag-a-Job, and then we have Ryan and Dallas, who I'm going to introduce them as a pair. They're going to do a little dance routine later as a pair. They're our iOS developers. They led iOS mobile development for us at Snag-a-Job. And then Marissa Beatty, the newest member of our team, is joining us from Ironworks, and she actually doesn't start until Monday. So welcome to Marissa. But we actually did work with her while she was at Ironworks because she did consulting work with us. And then we have an advisor who we worked with for a long time at Snag-a-Job too, who's just the product guru. He led product and design at eBay back in their heyday. And so anyway, we're super excited about the team that we have, and this is the team for us that we're going to keep in place for a while. We'll operate really leanly as we start to learn. And we get asked, and rightfully so, and something we really have dug into, what's the marketplace look like? What's the competitive landscape look like? And the way we have looked at this app is that there are 3 different components to it. There's the planning piece, which is who, what, when, and where, right? The who is, again, who's most important to you? And then it's the what piece. Is what are you going to do with these people and in these different areas of life? When do you want to go do them? And so it's then integrated into your calendar. If you say you want to go do a date night every other week or whatever it might be with your wife, then it'd be integrated into both of your calendars. And then the where. And the where is, as you say you want to be able to do these things, us being able to tee up recommendations of things for you to do, because we're getting smarter and smarter about you and what you like to do and the people who you care about most and what their interests are. And so we'll be able to tee up those kinds of recommendations. The second part, and this has probably been the biggest learning for me, and the biggest, initial pivot, I would say, for us, is that as people are going and actually doing these things with the people they love, they're capturing it with their camera phone, right? They're taking pictures of it. And so what we found is that what happens, those photos, for how many of us do they just then sit on our camera roll? Right? Or maybe we'll upload it to our computer, right, when we get to the point where a phone runs out of memory. Maybe we'll upload it to Dropbox or put it into Amazon or whatever. But for the most part, they just sit on people's phones. And what we found, too, is people want to share those moments with the people that they love. And for a lot of our target audience, they'll put some stuff on Facebook, but a lot of it they won't, and they'll text it. They'll text it to their parents or the grandparents of the kids. Here's us on our beach trip. Or, it may be that you text it to your best friend, hey, here was us at our whatever, golf trip that we just did. But again, in that case, they then just sit on people's messages app. Maybe they download them to their camera, but again, that's where they then sit. So they don't ever get the chance to, or most oftentimes, you don't get the chance to go back and revisit and enjoy those again. And you took the photo because evidently, you wanted to be able to go back and enjoy it later, right? Why ever take the time to take it if you don't want to actually go back and enjoy it later? And so that's where the third part comes in, which is relive. And you've taken these photos, and I don't know about you all, but sometimes I'll go back to try to find one photo, and then as I'm trying to find it, I'll find these other photos. I'm like, oh, man, I loved that thing that we went and did. I loved that trip to Winter Green. Or, gosh, look how small the kids were at that point. Or wasn't that fun? But be able to push people proactively, here's what you were doing last year. Here's what you were doing 2 years ago today. Here are the last 5 first day of back to schools. Here are the last 6 Thanksgivings. And so being able to help people relive those memories that they actually captured in a much easier way. And so as you look at then who plays in those different categories, On the planet side, there's the analog piece of, all right, well, people are just putting stuff into their calendar. They may write it on their refrigerator calendar, or they have a sticky note, they have a journal, whatever it might be. Then on the digital side, you do have people that will use Facebook for certain pieces of this, where it's like, hey, I'm going to be in Baltimore this weekend with my kids. It's supposed to rain. Does anybody have any good ideas of things to go do? And one of your friends will write back and say, yeah, you ought to go to the aquarium, or whatever it might be. But that's not really for the purpose of actually helping you find things to do and actually go do those things. We actually have we have any accountants in here? Former accountants? Some of the accountants we met with, they run their personal life with Excel too. So anyway, a lot of people use Excel for these kinds of things. On the do it side, and that really gets back again to capturing the moment and sharing those moments and tagging those moments. Again, you have Facebook, right? That obviously is the place where so many people are sharing those moments that they're living. But again, it's not in a private sharing mode. You've got Instagram, very similar, right? In terms of, you're kind of sharing it with the world or whoever it is who's following you. You have the ability to go in and make groups, but most people don't privately share it with those groups that they can form through that. And then on the relive side, you've got people who journal right now, or they make photo albums. All that seems to be decreasing over time. And then from a digital perspective, you've got things like Time Hop that will push you what you posted on Facebook a year ago or 2 years ago. But again, it's only the things that you posted on Facebook. So there's no one, again, who has kind of weaved together all three of these things with the purpose of helping you focus on those people and aspects of life that matter most to you, which is what we view as the market opportunity. And we think it's a very big market opportunity if you look at it in terms of how we set up our revenue model, and it's a free app, but how we set up our revenue model, it's a $15 billion plus type of market opportunity. So the market opportunity size won't be an issue for us. It'll be much more about how well do we execute. So we formed personas. And personas of the people who are our target audience. And so one of our personas is Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a working mother of two. She's super busy in her life. And this is what we hear oftentimes in terms of what Elizabeth is doing from planning things right now in her life. My calendar runs me more than I run it, but I don't purposely plan for my personal life, even though it's more important to me than my work life. So the work stuff is purposefully planned. It finds its way onto her calendar. But the other stuff, unless it's like the soccer game or whatever, doesn't get onto the calendar. In terms of actually going in and then doing these things, who in here uses Pinterest? Do you have any big Pinterest users? All right, decent number of people. Pinterest is a big thing for our target audience in terms of what they're using to kind of curate things that they might want to do. But what we find is I pin tons of cool things to do with my family, but we never actually go and do any of them. And then the relive side is I used to make a book, kind of a scrapbook, the picture book at the end of the year. But it took so much work that I'm way behind. Now my pictures just sit on my phone or computer. And then this other piece of, I text my mom pictures since she's not on Facebook and they just sit in her messages. All right, does that resonate with anybody? I see a few people laughing. Okay, so now, here's what we envision and what we hope to have happen is now with DieHappy in Elizabeth's life, now she can find cool things to do with my family. We can actually get it on our family calendar that's shared to make sure everybody knows about it. Right? So we can get that Monticello visit that we've been wanting to do on the 4th of July so that the kids see what it's like when we have these immigrants who are becoming naturalized citizens. How cool would that be? Do it. I quickly capture and categorize all of my moments. I love how easy it is to share with only the people I want to see it. Not the guy from your 8th grade science class that's kind of creepy and he always comments on your daughter's birthday pictures that you put out, right? I mean, seriously, I mean, who in here has over 200 Facebook friends and is willing to admit it? And how many of those people care about, like, I shouldn't say care about, that sounds mean. How many of you actually want to buy a birthday present for more than 50 of those people? You do? All right. I want to be your friend. So, again, it's only the people that I want to share it with, right? And then relive. You're living this life, you're creating this life, you're capturing this life, and we want to help you chronicle it so that you're leaving behind, in essence, kind of this legacy. And again, I don't mean that to sound more, but I need to come up with a better word than that. I told you guys you're guinea pigs. But you're creating this life story, and so go create it. Not just so that you can go back and enjoy it later, but your kids can enjoy it later. Your grandkids. I was talking to my dad the other day, and he came down to visit us at our office, and he was like, son, and my dad's really conservative and kind of uptight, but in a good way. I love my dad to death. And he was like, we're down in the bottom at 14th and Cary, and he was pointing to the downtown expressway. He was like, I ran from the cops down here and was weaving in and out of these pillars. I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't know you ran from the cops. He's like, yeah, me and my cousin, we were in a car, and the cops started chasing us, so we were weaving in and out of these columns here. And, I want to go put that into his life story and show what he was doing in 1957 or whatever year it was, and what car he was driving, and put his picture there of what he looked like. And so you're creating this timeline, this life story, so that you can go relive it. And so now I get to browse all the moments we've created and then get out there and do it again, right? It's with the impetus of, okay, if you went and you did take that wintergreen trip, you did go to Monticello and do that cool thing, you don't have to necessarily go do that again, but it's with the impetus of, hey, you really enjoyed that thing, you enjoyed going and doing something with those people, let's help you go do something like that again. And what we found is that when these moments are being kept in front of people, that makes them have that desire to go do them again, because like, oh man, yeah, that was awesome. Or I haven't seen my brother in 6 months. I need to reach out to him. I need to plan something with him. And then now my mom follows all the moments that I share with her in one place and can order her own pictures. So again, these people who you're sharing it with, they have access to all of these moments. It's not just caught up in their messages app or on their camera roll or whatever it might be. They can actually, and Nick will show you how it works in a second, they can see all the moments that just you've shared with her, only the moments that just your brother or sister has shared with her. She can look at only the moments of a certain grandkid if she doesn't like the other grandkids. Just kidding. There are no grandkid favorites, right? And be able to really easily order those pictures. So this is the whole planet thing. This was not a screw up. I actually meant to do that so that, again, it puts that impetus on, all right, you really love doing that. Let's go do that again. So our evolution, as Stan talked about, this is the first time we're actually out talking about it live. You can, and we'll show you in a second how you do it. You can go sign up today to become a beta user if you go to the DieHappy.com site. So as I said earlier, the discovery for us started back in March of 2015 in earnest, and we're launching the beta version of it. We've got a handful of people, just close-knit people that are using the beta right now, and I'm going to talk about what a beta actually means for us. And then we'll launch in the App Store officially in April, and then our next couple of milestones will be the web app launch and then the Android launch. So, what's an MVP? I put up there that we're launching the MVP now. It's not Aaron Rodgers or LeBron or Stephen Curry or whoever. It means minimum viable product. Any of you know who Reid Hoffman is? He co-founded PayPal, founded LinkedIn, done pretty well. And I love this quote by him, and it's that if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. And we put this in here as a caveat because when you guys sign up to be the beta and you're using our beta, you're going to be like, really? What's all the hype about? This thing stinks. Because what we're putting out initially, hopefully it doesn't stink, but there are certainly going to be certain things about it that you're like, why didn't it do this? Why didn't it do this? I wish it didn't do this, and this is in the way, and this is ugly, or whatever it might be. But the first version of it, you want to get it out there so that people can actually use it, and you can be getting that feedback on what works, what doesn't work, what do they wish it did, and what do they wish was taken out. So this is what it's not, right? It's not this bottom of the pyramid where it's just this totally barely functional thing that doesn't give you the reliability, the usability, or emotional design at all. But it's not something that is fully functional. It's not going to be fully reliable, right? It's going to have bugs. Maybe not, right, Ryan? It's going to be usable, hopefully, and it's going to have some element of emotional design to it. So it's going to have, hopefully, some of each of those different pieces to it. So the MVP phase and what we hope to learn through this next 120 days is we think we know what people want based on the feedback that we have gotten to date. And we'll continue through that process. So we think we know, and now we've made something, and now we're going to go check it, right? And it's not just this, okay, we'll go back and we'll check it again in 90 days. It's that, no, this is a really quick iterating process where as soon as we're getting feedback from people and as soon as we're learning, we're going to make updates to it, right? We're going to iterate on it, and we're going to go back and check that. And we'll be doing that through getting the data, and we'll be getting it through these one-on-one sessions that we're having with people. And a lot of people think that, all right, well, the Instagram company, you know what, like they just nailed it. They had this great idea, and they ended up going down the win path, and some of these other companies, they had this idea, and it just stunk from the beginning, and they failed, right? And that's not at all how it works. I mean, if you go back and again, using the Instagram example, that's not what Instagram set out to do initially. When they initially launched the app, it wasn't even called Instagram, it was Bourbon. And what they found was how people were using it was that they wanted to be able to share photos with this broader group of people with the things that they were doing at that moment. And so they pivoted actually a couple different times until they got there. And so what we'll find out, and we intentionally use the word error instead of failure, is we're going to go down a certain path and we're going to learn something. We've already learned some stuff, right? And we're going to realize, okay, well, that was an error. We're going to go back over here and that'll be an error. And the hope is that we'll get down here where it's, quote, win. And then hopefully we keep going down the path and we'll find some more errors and hopefully, keep having some wins along the way. And so as I mentioned, the beta phase is going to be 12 weeks. And the number of users that we have on it will grow over time. So as I mentioned earlier, again, you can go in and you can sign up for the beta today. And we'll grow that number of people all the way up to 2,000. So we're using the iOS testing environment that's called Test Flight. And under that, you can have up to 2,000 people. So initially, it's just a handful of us, and we'll incrementally grow that number of people over this next 120 days. And this is on the DieHappy.com site right there, that yellow block. So you can go, and if you haven't yet, I would love it if you would go in and sign up and be a beta user. It doesn't actually require you to go be a beta user and give us the feedback, but we'd love it if you would. Yes, sir?
I just went on I looked it up. Now, I'm over your demographic age group.
You don't look like it, though.
Well, you do the looking and I'll do the feeling. University of Richmond came up.
Oh, that's because you're trying to connect to their Wi-Fi right now, would be what it is, I'm assuming.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, but if you go to DieHappy.com and you get out of here, I should have mentioned this too. Well, anyway, it should come up and you'll be able to register just with your first name, last name, and email address. All right?
Once you register though, Shawn, it goes right to spam because that's who you are.
What's that?
I just registered and I'm sure the response back to confirm the email went to my filter.
Oh, it went to your spam filter? Oh yeah, okay, that's a great point. So if you don't see the confirmation email coming back, check your spam folder. Okay? All right, so let's give it a whirl, and as I say up here, let's hope it works. Again, grace, given the fact that this is the beta.
All right. When we practiced on Friday, Shawn said he would do the presentation, was nice enough to give me the live demo. All right. All right. So what you're actually seeing here is my screen. So I'm going to go through a quick example of a plan that I made within the app. So I'm going to launch it. And somebody just subscribed. I turned alerts off, but they're still coming through. So thank you, whoever that was. We'll be following it up shortly. These pictures may not mean much to you, but this is the app for me because it's very personalized. That's actually my son at my sister-in-law's wedding. As Shawn said, the pieces of the app that are important to us are the plan, do, and relive. We're very popular right now. So one of the plans that I set was to go out and do a mountain getaway. My family loves outdoor stuff, so...
Not to tour the winery with Alex? I'm just kidding.
I was hoping that was a picture of my wife. I do not let my son drink wine, I promise. All right. So last weekend, we went away to the mountains. As you can see, I got a picture on November 20th that we were going to go to the mountains. There's a picture of my wife, my son, and my daughter. Keep the sign-ups coming. And when you set the plan in the app, what it's going to do is save all of your details for, like Shawn said, the who, what, when. So this weekend, as you see, I've set up all the important people in my life. I said I wanted to go with my wife and my 2 kids. I could choose additional family members as well. But also for that relive piece where I will look back at the moments I've created, I want to store them under the aspects of life that I categorize them in. For me, being adventure, family, recreation. I'll kind of show you how that works in a minute. But I've done it. So what you're going to see, the first thing it's going to do is prompt me to add some images from that plan that we went out and have done. And one of the things we found is when you go out on these trips, you're going to take 50, 60 pictures, but really there's 2 or 3 gems that you're going to want to remember later. And there was something Shawn put earlier up on the relive piece, how they used to make photo books, but now in December I've got 3,000 pictures from my phone. 1,000 pictures from my wife's phone, and now we have to somehow go and find all those that are important enough for us to make a book, and it's very time consuming. But if we can make it habitual, where you're actually going through and kind of just finding those pictures that you want to associate with this memory, so that when you look back, those are the ones that you're going to want to remember. It's tagging all the information from my plan, who was there, when was it, when did it occur, and then also I have the ability to jot down any memories, moments that happened that aren't necessarily pictures, but things I want to remember, potentially things my kids said, so that when I revisit this memory, it captures all the pieces that go along with it. And the next thing it's going to do is prompt me to share. So it's going to share with my wife, obviously, because she was there, and I want her to be able to have this on her timeline, but I also want to share it with my mom, because my mom loves getting pictures of the grandkids. Always get complaints that I don't give her enough of them. And like Shawn said, even when she does get them, they just kind of sit on her phone, and she doesn't do anything with them anyways. But I'll show you in a minute what it does for her. All right, notifications. And then what it's going to do is create my timeline. And from here, I can look back at all the moments that I've created and filter by those different categorization pieces that I had done up front. Show me all my family moments. Show me all the moments with just my daughter and I for the last year. All those pieces of your life that you capture and want to be able to look back, you always just see this big photo stream. But maybe you want to see what did my daughter's first year look like? What are all the things we've done in the last 6 months together? But really with the impetus of when I see these moments, I want to go back and I want to do more of them. So really it's cyclical. It's not just this, you become happy all of a sudden. It's working at it continually to make yourself happier. We also know that, like Shawn said, you're not going to pull our app out every single time you're doing something. So the other piece that we built, so let's say you want to capture a live moment, like maybe you're presenting somewhere and you're getting lots of signups. No cell. I've got plenty of those. You can then share it. Similar to like, this is where people typically would go now to text an image to someone. You'll have the ability to share it directly to your DieHappy app and have the same functionality outside of the app as you do within it. What are you doing? Who are you with? Who do you want to share it with? And that's going to then publish it to your timeline as well. So a moment ago, I shared a moment with my mom. Let's see here. Let's turn this off. Happens here. One of the things that when we set out to make DieHappy was we want the app to work for you, but we don't want to make the error that other people have had, that you have to have everybody else on the app for it to work for you as well. So really what we're saying is only you have to have the app. If other people in your circles have the app, that's great. But if my mom doesn't want to use the app, she doesn't need to. So when I share a moment with her, what it's going to do is build a site just for her. And it's going to contain all the moments that I shared with her over time. And give her the ability to look at, like my mountain getaway with my son and my daughter. But the other thing it's going to do is not just have my moments, it'll have all the moments that my brother has shared with her, all the moments my wife has shared with her. So it's really a way for her to consume all of the important people in her life, all of their timelines, all of their life stories, along with her own. If she's creating her own moments, they would appear here as well. But like I said, we don't want to build a new social network. We want to build an app that really is personal, that has your definition of happiness that you're working towards, but privately sharing with those moments with the people that you really want to consume it. And the people who, I don't know, care is the right word, like Shawn said before, but if I put these on Facebook, I might get a couple likes, but that's just it. But if I shared this with my mom, she really wants to see this.
Yeah. And the other thing we found is that, like if you're at a family event, Nick may be taking certain pictures of the mountain getaway, his wife may be taking certain pictures as well, but you don't then necessarily share them back with each other so that they're in one place, or certainly share them back with his mom or with his wife's parents. And so again, it acts as this centralization piece so that all of those moments that you captured from that thing that you went and did are all in one place.
And with that, like Shawn said before, she can make prints of these photos, she can build albums, she can do whatever she wants. She has full control over all the moments that I've been sharing with her as far as printing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we just started experimenting with too is a Wi-Fi digitally enabled frame, where each time you share a moment through DieHappy, it then shows up on that person's digital frame. Because one of the things we've seen with those digital frames is you put those pictures on there at the beginning, but then that's the only moments that are on there. and maybe you update it every 6 months or so, but this allows them to be showing up on people's frames in real time. So. All right, I know we're right at the time limit, so.
Yes.
Well, thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Considering there were only a couple members of that app before when we started and you saw all the notifications coming in, you've just been part of the fastest growing app on the internet. So, I've talked to a number of people today and said that I would get back to them this afternoon on something, and I decided I'm going to go home, buy a bottle of French wine, and download this app.
All right, I love it.
It's been,
Capture the moment.
all right, next event. Oh, by the way, there's an article on this you'll read in today's Times-Dispatch. John Blackwell, the reporter for the Times-Dispatch, is here this morning and has wrote a story about this morning. So I'm anxious to see it. Next event, December 22nd. That's just 3 days before Christmas. This is the new offices of LeClaire Ryan. It's in the SunTrust building. Prettiest view in the city of Richmond of the state capitol. It's unbelievable, and kind of the office law office of the future. So and Gary will be talking about that. And we'll also have Tom Yeager from the longest tenured commissioner of an NCAA Division I conference in the country, the CAA, which Richmond is part of. And then next year,